Socially awkward. How many of us these days would use that descriptor? Personally, I know so many people who would say they're socially awkward, even if really they're not, in my opinion. But in this video, I want to talk about 8 ways, pro tips, on how you can improve your social game. Now, what makes me qualified to talk about this? Well, I've been there. I've been in a position where I was socially awkward, where back when I was younger, I had really bad social phobia, and it was such a struggle for me to socialize, and I was just awful at it. So I spent a lot of time learning about it, reading about it, figuring out the nuances of socializing, probably learning more about the technical aspects of socializing than anybody really needs to do. But to help you guys out, I'm going to abridge everything I learned into these 8 pro tips for you. Let me know what you think down in the comments, if any of these were helpful, or if maybe you do something to kind of empower yourself so you don't feel awkward. Let us know down below in the comments. Alright, without further delay, let's get into it. Now, obviously, because this video is 8 tips, it's probably going to be around 10 minutes. It's going to be a little bit longer than my usual content, but bear with me. It's good stuff that you're going to want to learn. So with socializing, the key to it is practice, right? So back when I had social phobia, maybe some of you have it as well. With social phobia, you don't want to socialize because you don't think you're able to. And yes, that's probably true that you're not able to socialize. But the only way to overcome that phobia, overcome the fear, as with pretty much any other kind of fear, is to face it directly and to socialize. So the more you can practice these skills, the better you will become at socializing. So the first thing to keep in mind about socializing, how to improve your social skills, is that you don't need to know everything or actually even anything about socializing. I know I just said I spent a lot of time reading and learning the nuances and all of that, but you don't need to do any of that. See, a lot of times when we don't want to socialize, we overthink it, right? We think it to the extreme, and this ruins our game. This makes us appear as awkward because we're just thinking way too much about it. So the key to socializing is just to socialize. The key is just to get into that situation and start talking, start figuring it out. And number 2, let the person lead. Let the other person lead the conversation, in essence. We as a society have this faulty notion of, if you're in a social situation, the person who's speaking the loudest or talking the most is the most powerful. But that's bull crap. That is a lie. Really, the one who isn't saying a lie, or the quieter one, has the most power in most cases. So to help you with your social skills, just let the other person lead. Let the other person talk. This is going to both help you because you're going to learn stuff about them that you can ask questions about, and it's going to make the other person unconsciously like you more because you're letting them talk. It's a mind trick in a sense, but it's one that works wonders. Trust me, I use this one a lot. And going off of that is number 3, use active listening. So as you're letting the other person lead, you're going to want to listen. But you're not just going to want to listen or respond like the vast majority of us do often in social situations. You're going to listen for key things that you can bring up later in the conversation. Again, this is going to be endearing to the person. The person is going to be impressed that you even remembered that, or that you were listening so intently that you heard that detail. Trust me, I've had teachers who use this beautifully, and it just always makes them stand out from the run-of-the-mill teachers who just don't listen to us. But the thing is, listen because you'll learn more, but don't just listen, use active listening. That's the trick. Don't just listen to respond like most of us do. Listen to really learn about the person. Number 4 actually might seem like a funny one, but trust me, it's a real game changer. So as you're talking, gesticulate. Use hand motions. This is something I do all the time in basically all my videos. Sometimes people tell me I do it too much, it's distracting, but the thing is, it helps me stay focused. See, a lot of times in social situations, we overthink it, right? Like I've already said, but one thing we overthink more than anything is our hand placements. Like, where do I put my hands while I'm talking? Do I put them in my pockets? Do I cross my arms? What do I want to do? When you gesticulate, that is a normal, natural orator motion, right? When somebody's up on stage, this is what they're doing, right? They don't have their hands in their pocket usually. They don't have their hands crossed. They don't so don't overthink where to put your hands. Just use them to gesticulate. And think of it as guiding the conversation. Number 5 is a big one, because with me, I actually have a master's degree in English, and I used to think that having a robust vocabulary was like sexy, it seemed cool and smart and intelligent. I couldn't be more wrong, right? The thing is, most people don't speak at a graduate level. They don't use fancy language, right? So don't think you need to in order to impress people. In fact, usually using big words, usually think about words 3, 4, 5 syllable words, multi-syllabic words, they're going to make people feel off-put. They're not going to like you as much because you're seeming pompous, like you're better than them, and they can't understand what you're talking about. So always mirror your language to that person's level. If the person's a professor and they get those words, use them. But if not, as most of us don't use big words. Before we move on, though, let me know down below in the comments, are any of these resonating with you? Do you think any of these might be helpful, or have you used any of these? Let me know down below in the comments. So number 6 is actually go with the flow of conversation, even if you make a mistake. Now see, nobody is completely perfect at conversations. I mean, we see people, who seem like great orators, like Jordan Peterson, but you know why he's so great? Because he has years and years and years of experience on stage, right? The fact of the matter is, most of us don't. So most of us aren't going to be perfect, and we can't expect that of ourselves. So when we make a little mistake, like with me, I'll stutter sometimes. I just did it to show you guys, but I don't get caught up on that. I still go with the flow of my videos, of talking, of working with people. Oftentimes we slow ourselves down and that becomes awkward. So be mindful. Number 7 is actually to trust yourself and be willing to talk about yourself openly if asked by the other person. Only if asked. You see, in conversation, often we feel that, we just got to talk about ourselves and about what we're doing and all the exciting things. And frankly, most of us don't have a ton of exciting things going on, right? I know when I talk to people, it's like I have my routine. I'm building my brand. I'm doing my thing. It's like, it's not exciting to the vast majority of people I talk with. So I just don't talk about it, right? And that's fine. But if somebody asks, be willing and ready to open up and kind of explain yourself to people. Not in a fake, inauthentic way, but be genuine with yourself. Like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. This is my vision. These are my goals. Don't think, who cares what the other person will think? Don't overthink it. Just talk. And the last tip, number 8, is use empathy while talking. Get in the other person's mind. So, as I just said in the last point, we often feel like, we just need to talk about ourselves. Not only is this going to probably incredibly bore the other person, but it's going to tire us out and probably make us feel awkward. So don't do that. Instead, use empathy and connect with the other person. Use the active listening, going back to point 3, let them lead, going back to point 2, and just use empathy. Let that guide the conversation. And you can talk about yourself, like if you can relate to a situation, you can be like, oh, this one time I experienced this, but don't just talk about yourself. In fact, sometimes I tell myself that, people don't care what I have to say, my experience. Not because they really don't, but it just helps me stay in line and not go off on a tangent. I actually got a bonus tip for you because I just noticed my pocket square was a little high, so I pushed it down. But in social situations, so often we get hyper aware, or we fixate on our appearance. Like, how's my hair look? How's my jacket look? How's my shirt? we just overthink it to the point where we don't even think about the other person. We're thinking about ourselves. Do we look good? Is what we're saying good? And we just miss out on the whole point of social situations. So the bonus tip is to not overthink how you look. Because trust me on this, and I know if you have social phobia, it probably doesn't seem this way, but trust me, people aren't looking at the little details like pocket square or like if something's sticking up on your head. They're not looking at that. They're looking into your eyes. They're looking at your demeanor, your facial features, and your just overall energy. Yeah, if something is really off-putting about your outfit, like say there's a big hole down the middle and they can see your chest, all right, maybe be a little cautious, but generally don't overthink the little details like the pocket square or hair or, jewelry's a little bit out of place or something. Just go with the flow. I know I don't have to tell you guys how important socializing is. Obviously, we're humans. Humans are social creatures. Socializing is literally how we get ahead in life, how we make progress, how we evolve, how we make new connections, and maybe through those connections become even better financially or spiritually or whatever the case. Socializing is a must, and we must learn it to a certain degree. We don't have to go into, we don't have to attain mastery, like I said in the beginning. Don't try to be a perfectionist, but we need to know how to socialize to an extent. So I hope these 8 tips or these 9 tips, because the one bonus, were helpful. I hope they kind of get you rethinking socializing and that they help you improve. Again, let me know in the comments if you've used any of these, and if you have, what has been the result of it. But guys, until the next video, I will see you around. Get into social situations and start practicing. No excuses, just get in there and start practicing.